From water slides that you'll want to try yourself to ones that you'll be glad are shut down, I'm Bob from World 5 List. Join me as I reveal 10 of the most amazing and dangerous water slides ever. Number 10. Body Slides, Orlando, Florida. Now, there are a whole lot of kinds of water slides, and for those who want to go as fast as possible, there are speed slides. In fact, in the United States, there are two that are taller and faster than any other, and they reside at Universal Studios Volcano Bay, Orlando. These slides are 125 feet tall and send you careening through a mountain before ending up in the water below. The 70-degree angles of the rides ensure that you're going to go fast, so be prepared. One of them's going to send you for a straight shot into the water and be a big adrenaline rush, and the other one has twists and turns so you can go through the volcano. Now, as you go fast through these rides, you'll be done in about 12 seconds or less, so think about it before you decide to wait in line all that time. Just kidding, it's probably worth it. Now, as if that weren't enough, you actually begin the ride in a launch pod, and two trapdoors open before you drop in. Number 9. The Black Hole. There are a lot of water parks that have a slide called the Black Hole, but the one I speak of was in Orlando, Florida at the Wet n Wild Water Park. Notice I said was. Now, what separates this particular black hole from the others is that it had a rather gruesome history of injuring its users. For example, one man was actually struck by something in the slide, and it left him basically paralyzed from his legs down. He would end up suing and got almost $2 million in damages. Multiple people have filed suit, not just because the ride had a habit of knocking them off of their inner tubes, but also because there have been documented cases of people colliding in the slide itself. So how exactly does it happen? Well, this slide is long, taking over 23 seconds to complete, but people at the park send them down every 20 seconds. And this leads to a lot of problems and a lot of collisions, because if one single thing goes wrong on your descent, you're prone to having an accident. Thankfully for all, the water ride would eventually be shut down in 2016. Number 8. A Leap of Faith. But first, have you had any dangerous water park experiences? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to keep you around and keep bringing you more great videos. The Leap of Faith water slide at the Atlantis Water Park in the Bahamas is easily one of the most visually detailed water slides in the world, mainly because you actually begin your descent at the top of a Mayan temple. Then you'll begin a 60-foot drop almost straight down, but you don't just stop in a nearby pool like a lot of water slides. Instead, you actually go through a see-through tunnel, one that has you going through a shark-filled lagoon until you eventually reach the end of the ride into clear water. So, to recap, this ride has a beautiful setting, a big drop, and sharks to look at. Number 7. Shoot the Rapids. The Shoot the Rapids ride at Cedar Point Park in Ohio is a raft-based water slide of sorts, and most times that wouldn't be so dangerous. But one incident occurred via a mechanical malfunction that almost created a disaster, and thus it became very dangerous. This ride was one of those massive ones where you and 9 other people were fastened into a giant raft that had you go down a path and then down a massive slide at the end. But to get to that point, you had to get hitched to a rail and then go up a hill. Unfortunately for 10 people, that rail hitch broke partway up, and those people were then basically dropped back down. To make matters even worse, the raft flipped, pinning all the people inside of it to the ground underwater. Now, there were people nearby who rushed to the rescue and saved them before anyone was killed, but there were injuries, and to this day, the incident still goes down as one of the worst in water ride history. Number 6. The Scorpion's Tail. Measuring in at 10 stories high and 400 feet long, the Scorpion's Tail at the Noah's Ark Water Park in Wisconsin is without a doubt one of the most amazing water slides in the world, but not just because of its size, rather because of the fact that this water slide has a loop. Now, for those who are unaware, loops are one of the most dangerous things you can put in a water slide, because if they're not constructed carefully, they lead to a lot of injuries. However, with the Scorpion's Tail, they built it in such a way that it's actually very safe, and thus, it was the first successful water slide loop in the US. The reason that it's safe is based on a lot of factors. For one, a person can't be dropped into the slide until the previous person is done, and two, the person does not take the slide straight on. Rather, they're dropped in at a 70-degree angle to 30 miles per hour. Should the worst happen, though, and a person not make the loop, there's a trap door they can go through at the spot that they'll end up at. However, this is just a 1 in 100 event. Number 5. The Aquasphere. The Peninsula Aquatic Recreation Centre in Frankston, Australia, is home to a ride that's known as the Aquasphere, and it's not hard to see how it got the name, with those massive sphere popping out in certain places. Now, that being said, the ride has had its issues for years with injuries. With long twists and turns, they have a tendency to throw people around, and due to this, the impacts can severely injure riders. One case that proves this danger was when a young child was thrown so hard against the slide that he fell unconscious, drifted to the bottom, and was basically lifeless. He lived, but the incident was enough to shut the ride down. Number 4. Black Anaconda. Dubbed as America's most thrilling water coaster, the Black Anaconda is actually a hybrid of water slide and roller coaster, and it's one that uses that to great effect, as a whole lot of people have noted. The ride features long drops with plenty of twists and turns to make you feel like you're inside the body of a long snake. Furthermore, it also has you being both technically eaten and spat out by an anaconda head, which you'll get to see as you exit. The Black Anaconda sends you whipping around at 30 miles per hour, which you're going to feel from start to finish. Number 3. The Streamer Slide. When it comes to water slides with inner tube requirements, the truly dangerous ones are those that cause those tubes to flip with you in it. A prime example was the Calypso Water Park, located in Ottawa, Canada, where a water slide was simply known as the Streamer. This slide had a notorious habit of causing tubes to flip over, injuring a lot of people. In fact, so many were injured that 20 different lawsuits would be brought against the park. Although some were dropped when the trial came around, the park would be found guilty in at least 6 of them. One of the worst by far was when a woman broke 2 vertebrae in her back. The worst part, though, if there was a worser part, was that after all these injuries happened, the park didn't actually report them. They just continued business as usual. Whether by the courts or the will of the people, the ride would eventually be shut down. Number 2. INSANO. Now, if you're searching for the world's tallest water slide, then you'll have to go to Fortaleza, Brazil, and head to the Beach Park Water Park. For in that park resides INSANO, a massive water slide that's 14 stories tall, and you'll be doing a near vertical drop into the pool below. You'll also be going a blistering 62 miles per hour at top speed, so due to this, the ride only lasts about 5 seconds. But in that 5 seconds, you're said to not touch the slide most of the time, and you have to cross your ankles and arms to ensure that you go down safely. Number 1. The Cannonball Loop. Ladies, gentlemen, creatures of all kinds, I give you the Cannonball Loop. This water slide is not in the world anymore, but for at least a month it was active, and from start to finish it was not only dangerous, but also potentially lethal, which was only made more shocking by the fact that the people who built this ride didn't really seem to care about customer safety. This water slide was created in 1985 at Action Park in Vernon Township, and there had been deaths at the park. In fact, 6 recorded deaths, with many other people being seriously injured, and it didn't stop with Cannonball Loop. The problem with the water slide was the loop itself. As noted before, loops and water slides are dangerous if not constructed properly. For if you don't build up enough speed, you're not going to make it through the loop, which is why the scorpion's tails was angled. The Cannonball Loop, however, didn't have that. It was a full 90-degree loop, so even with the long build-up, there was a guarantee that people would get hurt. And of course they did. But the park still wanted to open the ride anyway. Reports even came out that they bribed their own park workers with $100 to ride it, and the few that did would never go on it again. What's worse, the actual customers who went on the ride sometimes got stuck at the top of the loop, and an escape hatch had to be put in to ensure that they could get out safely. And those were the lucky ones, as others just simply got injured, including almost being knocked unconscious after falling back onto the slide, not making it through the loop. As if that wasn't bad enough, the construction of the slide made it so that sand could pool up at the bottom, and anyone who went down would get scratched up, and the slide would have to be closed for cleaning. And after all of these problems and issues, the slide only stayed open for about a month before being permanently shut down. Thanks for watching. Have you ever tried any of these water slides? And if not, which is your favorite that you ever have? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you next time on World 5.